This video is going to be about the Laudatio Turiae inscription, which is a eulogy inscription written for a really dutiful and devoted wife. This is a primary source from the 1st century BCE. This is the longest surviving personal inscription from classical era Rome. It's an extremely unique source and it's pretty interesting. I'm going to talk about it in this video, and so I'm going to jump right into it. The Laudatio Turiae inscription grabbed my attention for the huge fragment that starts with XORIS, or which would have said uxoris, or wife. This eulogy seems to give a striking charitability from the husband on behalf of the wife, and attributes some typically Roman virtue to his wife. There's also an extremely interesting emphasis and focus on the positives despite hardship. These values, such as pietas, are not exclusive, but say in the Aeneid, for example, are characteristically male. The sense of justice and want for persecution mentioned early on also suggests a very ample degree of reason. Her insistence also points to her steadfast duty to justice, which is probably use for the Romans, or in Latin. And this particular virtue would again not have been exclusive to women, but majorly cherished in men who could openly prosecute in court cases, given that Romans were pretty litigious human beings. Second, the next part addresses that a great deal of fidelity was held by this woman. She seems to again honor the qualities of a superb woman, but also in the eyes of a husband. In this case, it seems like her honor is that of a faithful soldier or some sort of noteworthy magistrate rather than a woman. Again, she embodies male characteristics better than some men, at least in the husband's eyes. This issue of divorce is also mentioned, and there's a general high rate that's also interesting. In the beginning, he mentions that most marriages end in divorce and not in death, and so their marriage is very unique. It's unique for other reasons. There's a major emphasis in auctoritas from the pater familias to the mater familias, because usually the man of the house is sort of in charge, but in this case the honor is at least attributed to the woman. So maybe not the direct power, but it's an interesting sort of play on traditional values that sort of seems to be going on here. Third, the mention of his wife's help in escaping the proscriptions is interesting. This provides one really interesting first-hand account of the sullen proscriptions. His mention of his wife is invaluable, also inflates her self-worth at the cost of his own. It's sort of like the sort of thing that you would do in the sense of making a self-deprecating remark. But in the sense, it's a little different because it's not like comedy or something like that. It's an open, like, public source inscription, so you're sort of losing face for yourself, making fun of yourself at the cost of how important your wife was to you, which is a really interesting rhetorical position. This act of narrating his failures to embellish his wife's success and stalwart nature is pretty rare in male accounts of marriage. Even to the modern day, I think this honesty and devotion that he seems to see in his wife seems very genuine and heartfelt. Despite its tremendous possible bias, this might be an instance of declaring the greatest qualities of a woman after she had died. This is a lower class version, as opposed to the later deification option that was available to Roman imperial families. And when I say lower class, I mean everyone that's not the imperial family. Fourth, his own praise of his wife extended even to that of Augustus, who acknowledged the qualities that were exemplary in his wife. This allows the reader to examine that Augustus championed women of this type generally and specifically, and especially. Further, that Augustus in no small way helped to give truth to the greatness of a woman over a man. He even lends credibility to the potentially growing importance of the woman to the state directly. Last, her own nobility and devotion to the family is again shown, and that her devotion to the family was more than her own personal pride or love of her house. She suggested divorce to allow a more prosperous and long-lived genealogy. She is also mentioned as the introduction to have some Christian undertones. Her obedient and dutiful behavior, even at her own peril, is admirable and Christian to the core. Her later shame reinforces the greatness of this woman in her husband's eyes. Hey, so thank you for watching to the end here. I'm just going to talk about my channel for a little bit. Here on Fantastic Explanations, I make some pretty cool videos, mostly about history, philosophy, and literature, especially about how these three topics intersect. I try my best to focus on topics that are interesting and underappreciated, and most importantly, that are worth learning about. I try to present them in the best possible way so that they can be appreciated, and I think you could be the latest in a long line of people that have helped me to teach better for a larger audience. Joining this channel gives you front row access seats to learn and grow as this channel grows and expands and does more interesting stuff, which I wager you won't want to miss. So the way to do this is to like this video and subscribe, at least to subscribe, and go ahead and watch a couple more videos or just research some of the things. What I try and do is add extra value in the description. That way you can read the sources that I'm talking about. At any rate, I really appreciate you watching, and I really appreciate you learning. Keep learning, keep staying awesome. Thanks so much. Have a great day.